besser at the moment. So we sit for 10 minutes. And now we come to the end of the meditation and we listen to one question. What do we wish for at this day about green Tara? Do we have any expectations, wishes? And we just wait what kind of answers come up. An image, a word, a sentence. And if we wish so, we can formulate a motivation for this day. And the recommendation is to connect our wish we may have with the welfare of ourselves and everybody else. And a suggestion: may this day of meditation, discussion, listening to stories about green Tara help us to gain deep confidence in our inner wisdom and in the ability to develop all qualities needed to lead a beneficial life for ourselves and others. May all beings be happy. So please relax your posture. Maybe clench your fist for a moment and relax. Clench your fist and relax. This brings up the circulation again. Sometimes it sinks down in meditation. So now I will talk a little bit about green Tara and about the context of imagining enlightened beings, even though we might not know now and never might know what that is before we realize it, and once we realize it, we can't talk about it. So, what is an enlightened being? Who is Tara? Who am I? And this question is even possible to pose for men, not only for women, because women meditate with the image of Buddha and Chenrezig, and nobody sees a problem in that. But if we suggest men meditate on green Tara, some say, well, but she's a woman. How can I meditate about green Tara? No problem. It's a play of gender roles too. And this is the first point I want to make. For me, green Tara was the entrance door to Buddhism. when I met Buddhism in Dharamsala in July 1977. According to my memory, it's what, the 27th of July, which is Padmasambhava Day, and the birthday of Anne McNeil, one of my first Western teachers, one of the first nuns of Lama Yeshe, and the first director of Chenrezig Institute, the first center of Lama Yeshe in the West. So, special day. Who is Tara? Who am I? For me, green Tara is the expression of the understanding of real people in history about the dependent arising of gender roles. Because each legend which is told is not an invention of some person in some quiet room, but each legend, each myth, each story, each fairy tale is an expression of human experience. And in Tibet, the story of Tara, the legend of Tara, is told since 100 years, since Atisha, the Indian pandit, brought the practice to Tibet in the 11th century. And before that, in India, she was known almost 1,000 years. The first reference to Tara was given in the 2nd century, murals in certain temples. And then for a long time, until the 6th century, there were always 3 Buddhas together, Chenrezig, Tara, and Bhrikuti, an Indian deity. And from between the 6th and 8th century, the first statues only of Tara appeared. And always in 2 forms, in the green Tara form, standing and sitting, and in the form of white Tara. And today I want to talk about white Tara. And all of you know, I guess, she has 21 manifestations or sisters, including the white Tara. So they are, you could say, white Tara and green Tara are sisters. They reflect different aspects of wisdom, like each Buddha reflects different aspects of wisdom as a door for us. So Lama Yeshe always said, Buddhas are different because we are different. They respond to different needs, different personalities, quiet ones, extrovert, introvert, we would say, energetic, a little bit slow, depending on personality types. So Buddhas are, in that way, mirrors of enlightenment. You look into the mirror of the Buddha and you see who you really are. We look into the mirror of Buddha, of Chenrezig, of green Tara, and then we get a hunch, an intuition of our deep qualities. Yeah, and the short story of Tara can be told in a very extensive way, but the short legend of Tara is she was a princess. Of course, all the Mahayana deities formerly were princes and princesses, reflecting Indian feudal culture. So she was a princess and she practiced. So she was a lay person. She was not a nun. She lived in her palace and gave offerings. She was incredibly generous, loads of offerings to the monks, and she created incredible merit. And she accumulated so much merit that at a certain point in her life, she was virtuous enough and clear enough to decide herself about the next incarnation. And not like us, who are thrown by the winds of karma in certain families. It's a wonderful meditation, to think about the winds of karma which threw us in the family we grew up. That's interesting. Yeah, it's a very interesting meditation. There's a connection, Buddhists say. So Tara, she was called moon-like wisdom. Yeshe Dawa in Tibetan, or Jnana Chandra in Sanskrit, the princess moon-like wisdom. Yeshe is primordial wisdom, and Dawa is the moon. So it's a very interesting name. And Princess Moon-like Wisdom said, had this realization, and she enjoyed it. And then a group of monks approached her and said, "Wonderful Princess Moon-like Wisdom, now finally you can decide to become a man in next life and get really enlightened, because in a woman's body it's impossible." What did Princess Moon-like Wisdom say? "Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your congratulations. But have you ever meditated about emptiness? In emptiness, there is no man, no woman. How can I be restricted to a male body?" Long story, making it short. And because in emptiness there is neither man nor woman, I make a vow now. From now on until enlightenment, I will always take female reincarnations, and I will awaken as a woman in a woman's body to inspire women. It's possible, and to inspire men, it's possible. And thus she did. And she got enlightened in a woman's body. And the story goes, before breakfast, she liberated millions of beings from suffering and ignorance. And before lunch, she liberated millions of beings. And before dinner, she liberated millions of beings. And she then received the honorary title of Tara, which is Sanskrit, meaning the liberator, and of course the liberated one, from, it's a very interesting word, from the Sanskrit verb tree, which means swimming. This is literal meaning. And then the metaphor, swimming to the other shore, from the shore of confusion to the shore of liberation or enlightenment. And once you cross to the other shore, of course, you can bring others across. So then you can liberate or save others. So sometimes Tara is translated as a savior or the liberator and the liberated one. Okay. Well, and thus she is since 1300 years inspiring women and men in India and Tibet. And this was the first story I heard about Tara in 1977. I was a Berlin feminist, and I sat there, okay, and then we received teachings on Tara, and when we entered the Tibetan library in Dharamsala, I received the teachings. There was to the left a men's lavatory, and to the right a women's lavatory, where everybody came in the morning and just, and every day the women felt 5 centimeters taller, and we were sitting more upright. And it was felt in the room how this teaching is inspiring and empowering women. And the men, I mean, we were a bunch of hippies, really. The women in Afghani clothes, and the men with long hair and beards and Indian clothes, and except for Alex Berzin with tie and suit in the first row, Fulbright student, yeah. Anyway, it was wonderful. And so I noticed the incredible effect it has to have a female Buddha. I learned at school, of course, there is Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha in India, and Nirvana disappearing into nothingness, and so, but there's a female Buddha. Fantastic. And the wonderful thing with Tara is she is not an androgynous person. It's never androgynous, like the Kuan Yin, the Chinese Buddha of compassion. You never know. And even the Buddhologists sometimes say this statue belongs to maybe the male face, and this is the female. They don't know. And sometimes it's just androgynous. You don't know, male or female. But with Tara, it's very obvious. She's very female. And Lama Yeshe explained her full breasts are an expression of the liberation of her inner power, of Kundalini power. Yeah, men put ashes on their body to symbolize liberation of their energy, of Kundalini energy, but with Tara it's the full breast. Yeah, and she is one of the few deities not sitting in full lotus posture. It's as interesting. And from this posture she has, you can get up without the help of your hands. And she is the manifestation of compassionate action. Yeah, action and compassion. The left leg is drawn in. This is signifying deep meditation, calm mind, calm heart, no kleshas, peaceful heart, and of course deep wisdom. If you are calm, not agitated, you can develop wisdom. The right leg is a little bit outstretched in the dancing position, they sometimes say. Active compassion. The left hand is at the level of the heart center, of the heart chakra. Sometimes with small statues, the index finger and the thumb are meeting. With big statues, sometimes the ring finger, this is the finger of bliss. It's more stressing the bliss aspect, but often it's shown like this. Yeah, with especially small statues, it's easier to manufacture. Yeah. And the right hand in this gesture too, on the right leg, on the right knee, signifying refuge, Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, absolute and relative wisdom, both together. And once you have found refuge, deep refuge, you are fearless. So it's a gesture of fearlessness and of protection. And we have this still. Okay. Don't worry, everything will be all right. This kind of rest of it, yeah? And the right hand in the gesture of generosity, we have that too. Please, help yourself. It's all yours. It's your home, yeah? This gesture of generosity. So, I mean, what else do you need? Wisdom and calm. Fearlessness, generosity. Of course, then you can act skillfully. So when I heard this, I thought, wow, everything I need. Yeah, it's perfect. And in Granada, in Ursuling, I learned something. I explained this at a course at Ursuling in southern Spain. And after that, a woman from Granada came to me and said, Sylvia, my family is Catholic. When I was small and I had fear, my mother told me, touch index finger and thumb and put it at the height of your navel, on your hips, and this will protect you from fear. It was a friend of Amparo who told me that. This is old Granada law, old Granada wisdom, I guess, from the gypsies, from the Moors, from India. I mean, the gypsies come from India. Maybe. We don't know. Maybe Muslim. We don't know, Sufi wisdom, whatever, but it's still alive in Spain, in Catholic Spain, this mudra. So mudras have an incredible, if you want to explain something, we do this. And from a Vedanta teacher, I learned, I mean, Tibetans say this is absolute and relative wisdom meeting. And you need that in order to lead a skillful life. And from a Vedanta teacher, an American Vedanta teacher I met, he said, this is me. I tell you, we have this mudra still. And this is eternal wisdom, Brahman with N, the deep wisdom, Buddha nature, Buddhists would say. And when the idea of me and Buddha nature meet, and deep wisdom meet, then you have the wisdom and skill of life. I like that explanation. I mean, it's the same, but it's a different aspect of it. This me must be connected, rooted in deep wisdom, then it works. Or sometimes, I mean, I found an echo of this in the Jungian teachings of Jung. He says the conscious self idea, me, I, has to be rooted in the deep self, beyond words. And then you have self-confidence. It's not I confidence. In German, the same. You don't talk about I confidence, but you talk about self-confidence. And they make a distinction. Not always, but there is a distinction with I and self. Self is a more bigger connotation, and of course it's not as deep with Jung until up to the deity or God or godness or whatever, but it's deeper than I. And Erich Neumann talks about the axis of I and self. And he says, when a child is small, the mother is the world. And in that way, she is the symbol of the self, of the greater, deeper wisdom. And if the education goes well, the symbol of the self goes from the mother, from the outside, into yourself. And you have this I-self axis within you. That means you have this conscious aspect, me, I can do, I know, I have, I want, fine. But this is resting in a bigger dimension. And then you have self-consciousness or primordial confidence, Urvertrauen, as Erickson put it. Yeah? Deep, this kind of deep, non-verbal confidence. Found that very interesting. The I-self axis is always talking about the same in different subtle ways, but it's the same thing. The conscious idea of me is not enough. It needs to be rooted in something deeper. You can call it transcendence, the ground of the soul, or whatever. Yeah, the deep ground, or Buddha nature, or deep wisdom. Okay, and so this mudra is wonderful. And I suggest often that people, when they do Tara practice, or any other practice, but with Tara practice, sit for a moment with this mudra. Refuge into deeper wisdom. Yeah, not just I know, me, but connecting with deeper wisdom. And this is the basis of fearlessness, because you have a confidence, even if I don't know what to do, if I don't have a solution, I don't despair. I say, okay, I just wait. Helpful. So, Tara. Tara became so famous in Tibet from the 11th century onwards that in the 17th century, a great Tibetan historian who was called Taranatha, he wrote the history of Tibet. He wrote a sutra for Tara, because a famous, important Buddha figure needs a sutra, needs a written text where everything is in. So he wrote The Legend of Green Tara. It's a literal translation is available. There you can read. 17th century. Because a Buddha has to have a sutra. Okay. So what can we learn from the practice of Green Tara? And now this is a symbol for the practice of all deities. A lot of what I say now is applicable to other deities too, but I explain it in terms of Tara. Each deity we meditate with is described with 3 dimensions. So sometimes I jokingly say, we have a trinity too in Buddhism. And I met 2 Christian priests, a Catholic monk who does the heart mantra practice, and a Protestant priest who is a great admirer of Mary. He gives, a Protestant priest, gives seminars about Mary, Mother Mary, the Mother of God. Yeah, very interesting. And both told me, we had good contact in the 80s. And with the Protestant priest, I did seminars together about Green Tara and Mother Mary. It was very interesting. And both told me their understanding of the Trinity, the Christian Trinity, was deepened by meeting the concept of the 3 kayas in Buddhism. I found that very, very helpful, yeah, and very inspiring. And they were therefore very respectful to us Buddhists because they were grateful. Their horizon became bigger. And so what are these three kayas? That's three perspectives. I say the Sanskrit, but I will explain. Nirmana kaya, the manifestation aspect. Dharmakaya, yes, I make it in that sequence. Dharmakaya is the reality aspect, which in this context is ungraspable, the emptiness aspect. And the third one is the Sambhogakaya aspect, which is experience without grasping, symbolized by light and sound, which are appearing, but you cannot grasp it. And one of the symbols is the rainbow. The rainbow definitely is to be experienced, but if you want to grasp it, you can't grasp it. So that's a symbol for this third kaya, Sambhogakaya. And the etymology is fantastic. Sam, together, and boga comes from the verb, Sanskrit verb bodh, and it means to enjoy. So when you experience something without grasping at true existence, you experience joy. Together with the whole situation, together with another person, together with something, yeah, with food. You can have a Sambhogakaya experience with food, with watching nature. I guess unconsciously we had a Sambhogakaya experience on a Friday afternoon when we saw the blossoms of the cherry trees, yeah, or the nature, yeah, spring. I mean, spring is a perfect condition for Sambhogakaya experience, dancing, singing, all experiences where we fully are present without grasping at subject, object, and process, but just that's Sambhogakaya on a very, explained on a very practical level, yeah? So the practice of deities shows us or introduces us to these three dimensions. And first we think that's just a deity. Tara is empty of true existence. Tara has an appearance. And in very rare moments of meditation, there is this openness experience. There is this not grasping, just with full devotion, just being in the practice. And then this third dimension, the Sambhogakaya dimension, can manifest. And after some time, we realize that's true for us too. So everybody, every person has these three dimensions. And in a way, everything, life has three dimensions. It appears, we all have experiences, we have the five senses. There is a tree and there are flowers and houses and chairs and books and whatever, people, animals, appearance. And there is, when we really get into an experience, the experience of ungraspability. What is another person? I don't know. What is a feeling? We do that in meditation. What is a feeling? If you start to check into feelings, you notice, I don't know. What is a thought? Where does it come from? Where is it when it's there? Where does it go when it's gone? I don't know. So you do that in classical Vipassana meditation. What is a thought? What is a feeling? What is a sensation? What is seeing? What is hearing? I don't know. If I look deeply, I don't know. And I have this Dhammakaya experience. It's ungraspable. It's a miracle. It's a mystery. Yeah. And that's why I put it in the sequence. You have an experience. When you get into it, you have this ungraspability. understanding, experience, and then the Sambhogakaya dimension manifests. And now I turn it around and say, whenever we experience deep joy, every moment of love, every moment of deep joy, true nature shows up. That's a saying of the third Karmapa. In every moment of love, our true nature, Buddha nature, shines out, shines through. In every moment of deep joy, of presence, of compassion, of peace, our true nature shines through because we don't grasp on identity. We don't grasp at identity. We don't grasp at the object. We don't grasp at the subject. We don't grasp at the process. But we're just there. And then the Sambhogakaya dimension arises. And now the idea is trust those moments. Trust those moments, and they will guide you to an ever deeper understanding. And of course, first, this is very difficult to experience with the person we know, because we have so many ideas how I should behave, how you should behave, and this person is so and so, and she said this and he said this, and I did this and I did that. So we are too confused and too involved. So they say, try it with the deity. Tara doesn't contradict me. Whatever I say, she doesn't refute me, she doesn't deny me, she doesn't throw me out, or whatever. She can stand me. She looks at me and accepts me in every mood. And this is one of the things we can do when we do the practice. We imagine Tara in front and enjoy her look at us. And she has this accepting look. This very open, accepting, friendly, loving, compassionate, joyful, equanimous look at us. Just imagine that. And it's incredible. We can't imagine that. We cannot imagine anybody else looking at us in such an accepting attitude. Some people can do it in the first couple of weeks of a new relationship, and that's what it makes so precious, that we are so full of inspiration that we don't grasp. And then we make this Sambhogakaya experience. But after some time, the normal person manifests behind the ideas about the other person. And then we start complaining and comparing, and then we get into this grasping mode again. But when and that's why falling in love is so wonderful. For a moment, you see the best in the other, and the other sees the best in you. It's kind of the positive effect of idealization. We idealize each other on one hand, on the other hand, we see the best. And that's some of the advices therapists give when you have a difficult time. Remember the time when you saw the best in the other person, or try to remember what is the best in the other person you ever saw. It can sometimes help to bring back this more open perspective. Yeah, but idealization has the other aspect too, when we cling to the idealization. But if it's this poetic, inspired, open look, it opens up the situation and can give us this, or make it possible to have this Sambhogakaya experience. And this is one of the reasons why all deities we practice with have human form. We don't contemplate a flower or a footprint of the Buddha or any kind of symbol which is non-human, but we contemplate a human-like figure in order to make the relationship more meaningful for us. Yeah, and you really can train with Tara. I mean, still today, after almost 40 years of practice, 39 years of practice almost, to sit for the first moments in Tara practice and feel, I'm imagining this, imagining that Tara looks at me with this loving, accepting, clear view. She doesn't have illusions about me. She sees me how I am with all my weaknesses and strength and my biography, with everything. She sees everything and still loves me and accepts me. And she doesn't rationalize my weaknesses and paints them up, but she just looks at, just to imagine that, it has an incredible effect. Yeah? And then one can communicate with her. And one Lama, I think Tsokmi Rinpoche, the son of Urgyen Tulku, of one of the great wise men from Tibet, who lived close to Kopan, 1 hour walk from Kopan. Urgyen Tulku was living about 2 hours. And a lot of people who were in Kopan walked up to Urgyen Tulku's place. And Tsokmi Rinpoche is one of his 4 sons. And he said, in a Tara initiation I attended, you can even fight with Tara. If you are frustrated, you can go to Tara, stand in front of the statue or imagine her, think of her and say, you promised to save all beings. What are you doing with me? Did you help me yesterday? You didn't. And you can yell at her. And Tsokmi Rinpoche said that a lot of Tibetans do this. They go to the temple and they yell at Tara or they yell at the Buddha and complain and yeah. And in the end they say, okay, now I said what I wanted to say. Thank you very much for your protection. Thank you. And I thought, this is inner hygienics. We talk about psychohygienics, having to learn with a therapist to feel our feelings and express them and need a group therapy. But they do it with deities and it has the same function. They become aware of their frustration, of their anger, of their expectations. They express it, and in the end they say, okay, thank you. I needed somebody to listen to me, and you listened to me. Thank you, now I can go home. So it's really a laboratory for trying out relationships which are honest, open, but not limited. And you cannot do this with human beings. You can maybe do it with very old friends where you have a very stable basis and they accept that sometimes we just are beyond reason or we are just stupid or whatever. Old friends can accept that. Relationships, I mean, very good relationships can accept that too. But normally in the first 5-10 years, you better behave well in relationships, otherwise people can't digest these heavy emotions. Old friends can, yeah, but deities can. So it has an incredible effect on our emotional and cognitive life if we really start practicing one deity. That's my advice too. If you change every half year and then this half a year Chenrezig and half a year Vajrayogini and half a year this and half a year that, you get confused. It's like changing your relationship all the time. So I'm monogamous with Tara, definitely. Yeah, I live in monogamy with Tara. Yeah, and it's very helpful. I did a couple of other practices. I respect them very much, but this is my home. This is, when I'm together with Tara, or when I think of Tara, I feel like being in the Black Forest, being in the area where I grew up. It's just familiar, yeah? Just the region and the mountains and the valleys and the people and the dialect and everything is familiar. So when I practice Tara, it's coming home, yeah? And showing up myself openly. And this is the last point I want to make. This is an advice from Akon Rinpoche from Scotland. Akon Rinpoche, together with Trungpa Rinpoche, founded Samye Ling in the 60s, 67. And Akon Rinpoche invented a program called Tara Rokpa, which uses therapeutic and creative methods and biography work, because he noticed very quickly in the 70s that we are all a little bit crazy, have too high expectations, are neurotic, have family problems, and all this stuff. And so he invented, with students of him who are therapists, invented this Tararopa process. And I attended that. I did that with a couple of friends for 10 years. We took it very slowly. It was a program of 5 years, but we took 10 years because we wanted really to enjoy it. And we are still friends. It's a very long cooperation, and 3 weekends a year. And so, and in this process, he said, he described meditation, any type of meditation, but you can apply it to deity meditation too. In meditation, you take off your mask, your roles, your identity. If you do breathing meditation, if you do mantra recitation, if you do body scan, whatever, if you do deity, you take off your mask. And if you don't take off your mask every day, it grows into your face and becomes one with your face. And if you then want to lift the mask of your personality, there is just a chaos and pain and blood and destruction. So you have to take off your mask. I mean, 4 times a week at least. Sometimes it's okay to just do meditation 4 times a week. But for me, this was an incredible inspiration for regular meditation. Take off your mask. And with Tara, it's very good to do because this applies to our, or relates to our need for relationships. We are relationship people. We are not solitary hermits. We are social beings, so we need somebody else. And I find it very interesting. The Buddha didn't use personal methods with persons. Of course, from the early days after Buddha died, you thought about refuge. You respected the Buddha, you respected the Dharma, you respected the Sangha. That was done. And it could be that from respect to the Buddha, this deity practice developed, could be. But the historic fact is very interesting. In the 3rd century, in the 3rd century before Christ, you remember Alexander the Great went to India and he took sculptures with him. And from that time onward, in the Afghan area and then in India, the first statues of Buddhas appeared. And I saw them in the museum in Delhi with Greek noses, this kind of one line from front and the nose, and with meander patterns in their clothes. I saw these Buddhas and, huh? This looks like Greek statues. And they told me, yes, they are Greek statues. They were done by sculptures of Alexander the Great and, of course, his students, because he trained people. And since then, the first images of Buddha appeared. So there's a connection with Europe, with Greece, with the manifestation or the picturing of Buddha as a person. Before that, they used a flower as a symbol or the footprint. That was a very famous contemplation object, the footprint of the Buddha, but not a figure. So there is a relationship with European culture, emphasizing the personality, the person, the individual, and the deity practice. And in Mahayana, which has the message of love, I mean, interesting. And you know Chenrezig? Yeah. You know the hard syllable of Chenrezig is Chri. I mean, Christos. At least there is a language connection. I don't believe in influence from A to B. I believe in something is in the air. A certain idea is in the air, a need is in the air or in the heart of the people, and it manifests. And Mahayana and Christianity were born at the same time, around the time change, 0. So it's very, there is at least an inner connection between the greater importance put on form, on person, on figure, on personality, on relationship. And the Bodhisattva, that are people who relate. They go into the world. They are not the hermits, but they go to the people. And so Green Tara is one of them, and we can relate to her. So now we do a little mantra recitation, and we can stand up for that, and then we do a Tara meditation. Please. Sorry to wake you up, Amanda. Please. Okay. So, just find a posture where you are relaxed. And we sing again the Tara mantra we sang yesterday, we know already. And we can sing both voices. And it's good if some people stay with a lower voice and some with a higher voice, but it doesn't work, it doesn't matter. Tibetans have another style of chanting. Everybody chants their own melody. And nobody's disturbed by that. Om Tare Tuttare Ture Soha. 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 Tare Tuttare Ture Soha. Om 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 tare. 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 Tuttare ture soha. Just stand a little bit and maybe feel the vibration in the body, or maybe sometimes even hear the mantra continuing to be sung somewhere inside, outside. And in order to a little bit gain energy or activate energy, we do a little bit of this swinging. Closeness to the altar is sometimes very good. Better keep a distance in some situations.
Throwing water at our guests.
As I told yesterday, this is an exercise which is done in, what do you call it? Qigong.
Yeah.
It's a Qigong exercise to activating. And you have found your rhythm if it's done almost without effort. That's your rhythm. Just play a little bit. If it's almost going by itself. And please feel free to yawn. It relaxes tension too.
Yeah, that's why you're all in this contention. Releasing tension.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all like that.
Yeah.
Being quiet, not being tired. I've got to say that.
Sometimes when you sit a lot and just get up, sometimes open a window depending on the space you're in and the season, and just 10 minutes swinging. You have more energy. And you can get into this flow, just doing, just letting it be done.
Being swung.
Even this can be a daily practice.
Yeah.
If you do it twice a day, 5-10 minutes, it's changing the mode. Tara Tulku, who formerly was at the Copenhagen Museum, very interesting Lama. Geshe-la Rampa too. When he came to our center, he often said, Westerners need 1 year of meditation training in order to accept their body. Asians, you can tell, look at them, give them 3 advices and they can sit. Westerners need a year of meditation
to discover their body.
To discover their body and accept the body and deal with the body, not push the body, not stress the body. So we need another approach to sitting meditation in Asians.
I was sitting there, I was going to work the other day and it was very early in the morning at 7:30, Sunday morning. And I was sitting in the bus stop in the middle of Copenhagen and I really wanted to sit and do it. And I couldn't because I was thinking 7:30 in the morning, people who sit there and shake kind of have another connotation. So I felt really embarrassed, but I really, really wanted to just sit there and I was feeling happy and sober and grateful for life and I wanted to get it and I just couldn't put other people through.
Yes. Yeah, one has to be considerate.
Yeah, I had to.
That's the Bodhisattva principle. You look in which context you are, and sometimes you don't do what you feel right, because it would irritate others.
Yeah. It would just be so nice to just swing there in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning, in this beautiful weather, and just, I'm alive. People just kind of, what?
Fortunately, in the U-Bahn, one just can sit with open eyes and meditate.
Yeah.
And nobody will be irritated.
No.
You can even do Tara practice in metro and radiate green light and inspire everybody. It's subversive.
Yes. New form of terrorism. Here we go.
And only do this swinging as long as you like. When you feel it's enough, you let the movement become slower and just stand a little bit. But as long as you like, you do it. Or as long as it goes by itself.
Feel a small pulse here.
Yeah.
Around here.
Yeah.
There's not swinging. No, there's.
I mean, it makes something.
There.
This swinging is 1,000-year-old. It's Qigong. They know a lot about meridians and energy flow, and it's incredible. It's so simple, but you feel the hands. Yeah.
It's right here.
Yeah. Could be a special point for you.
Yeah.
Around lunchtime.
Yeah, rest for a while. And if you like, you just can lie. Keep lying about 10 minutes and I will ring the gong. And you are not not expected to meditate now, but you just can even fall asleep. Because after having done an exercise and then resting a little bit without expectations brings the whole effect of the exercise into your system. And I will ring the gong after 10 minutes. So you don't have to do anything. We slowly come back with the attention. Feel our body. We slowly can move a little bit, clench our fists. And those who like can touch their knees and move a little bit back and forth, sidewise, to relax the back. Just keep lying, hold your knees with the hands, and move a little bit. And over the side, come slowly back to sitting, roll to the side. This is most friendly to your back. Western people need relaxation. Tension we are experts in.
Yes.
We know how to make things work. We don't have to learn that so much. And please, Niels, when we do the Tara practice, not live streaming. This is presence. Yeah, mantra chanting is okay. Mantras are free, but the guided meditation requires presence because it's a kind of long. It's a kind of first transmission from a person from the tradition. And I learned it from him. Ho ho. He was chanting part of the initiation in English. Now, white light radiating from Tara's crown, entering your crown. Red light coming from, how do you call this one? Lama Yeshe. How do you call this one? Right, red light coming from your gorge, entering your gorge. Blue light coming from the heart, entering your heart. It's so sweet. And courageous. I mean, this was the initiation after the official initiation because we came late. A group of us had been in Kathmandu and came back 2 hours late. And then next day, Lama Yeshe said, okay. Then we came to his room and it was, I mean, like today, 6, 7 people, Lama sitting on his bed, yeah, this kind of flat bed, and giving us initiation in Green Tara. So now we do the Tara practice, find a stable posture, chair, ground, whatever. No, not record. This is presence.